Hello and welcome to another video. So we're going to be taking a look at the nerfs. They have now been announced. They will go up tomorrow, for me anyway, which is approximately 20 hours, I think, from now. I don't know. I think that's an approximation. I don't know. It's, you know, somewhere between 10 and 16 hours from when this video will probably go live. Something like that. So we've got seven cards going to be nerfed. We've got Tove, Baphomet, Spawn of the Abyss, Goblin Leader, Grimnir, War Cyclone, Oroboros, and Princess Snow White. They do give brief explanations, but there's not too much that we don't already really know about them and why they're being hit. So Blood's pretty typical. It had a crazy high win rate, so of course that was going to be hit, especially with the high play rate as well. So I think they went a little over the top, hitting pretty much everything in Blood that made it even half decent at the time. So Tove was expected. The way it's been changed is kind of what most people saw coming. The defense drop, maybe most people thought maybe it would stay at 3, but everything else is pretty standard. So instead it's a 2 attack, 2 defense, gains rush when a neutral follower is played, or comes into play, sorry. But it doesn't have the can't attack effect on it, so if you play it as a 2-drop, you can attack with it in the next turn. No problem, so you don't need to worry about that. Next, we have the Silver Baphomet, of course. You know, put a random Bloodcraft follower with at least 5 attack into your hand. Enhance 5, subtract 3 from the cost was its original effect. Its new effect, on the other hand, just becomes put a random Bloodcraft follower from your deck in your hand, making it a slightly, probably worse version of the Dragon card, Dragon Summoner. Just because, you know, between Blood and Dragon has a lot more cards that you want to pull. Dragon also tends to run more neutral, so you can optimize what you're drawing with Dragon Summoner, whereas Blood doesn't have that same advantage, where a lot of Blood followers could be pulled by this. You would nearly be better off running some form of Goblin Mage engine and trying to mulligan for 2-drops maybe. Just a thought. So I think Baphomet's pretty much been killed off for the most part, especially being a silver and Dragon Summoner being a bronze. It just seems like a really shitty way to hit Baphomet. And they also did hit Spawn. We expected Spawn to be hit in some way. It's kind of unfortunate they hit everything else and then still hit Spawn. Hitting Baphomet the way they did, they could have nearly left Spawn as is without much issue. So Spawn's change pretty much just becomes whenever this follower attacks. Current effect. Where's its previous effect? Up here. Some of it's hard to keep track of this one. The Bloodcraft legendary follower. Spawn of the Abyss will have the effect Ambush. Whenever this follower attacks, deal 5 damage to the enemy leader if the ambush is active for this follower. Last word, deal 5 damage. So the change is mainly to its damage. So it's now 5 instead of 6, and from the looks of it, it won't gain the evolve change either. So it will stay as a 5 damage even when evolved. So at the most, you're going to be getting, what, 13, I think, off an evolved spawn ambush, and it's only going to be in a control card because the Baphomet means you cannot play it out early. The other one they hit was the Goblin Leader. It is now a 4-cost, 2 attack, and 3 defense follower instead of being a 1 attack and 2 defense follower. So the buff is good, the cost is bad. So you don't want that cost being 4. It conflicts too much with other 4-drops, basically making the card useless and meaning other cards will probably run over it. Kills most neutral engines. I mean, you could probably just replace it out for a better 3-drop, but it's going to be a little more difficult. So I guess it was needed. They needed to hit Goblin Leader in some way. I don't know whether this was the way to go about it, but it's definitely, at least it does keep its effect. I mean, 4 could be worse, I guess. They could have, you know, completely destroyed the card and made it start of turn summon. That would probably have been worse. Anyway, onto the next card. So we have Grimnir, War Cyclone, and Oroboros. They were changed due to Dragon matchups for the most part, because Dragon takes huge advantage of Grimnir's ability and the Oroboros abilities. So the neutral follower Grimnir will have its effect in its unevolved form be enhanced 10, deal 1 damage to all enemy followers. Some of you will ask what has changed. Well, it can't hit face. It can only hit enemy followers, meaning you're not going to get that chip damage in Haven decks, you're not going to get the damage in the Dragon decks, and you're losing a little bit of advantage. You'll probably still play this in a control sortie variant, maybe, because the clear is still pretty good, but outside of that, I don't think you'll see this played in... definitely probably not in Haven. You've got enough board clears, so Cyclone is probably be swapped out for a better 3-drop range card, or a later game card. Dragon may still run it if they're looking for a board clear, but you've got Salamander for that, so it may not be necessary. It'll be interesting to see if people continue to run Cyclone just as a board clear in the late game, or they just decide to drop it completely. Next up, we have the Dragonclaw legendary follower Oroboros, which is fanfare. Deal 3 damage to an enemy leader at last word, put an Oroboros in hand. They just axed the healing effect. That's pretty much it. So you can no longer have looping Oroboros heals, so that's good, I guess. I never found Oroboros a personal problem, but I know some tournament scenes have been finding that Dragon mirrors were going too long due to the Oroboros heal loops, which were a real pain in the ass apparently. But it's Dragon didn't get hit very hard overall. I think Oroboros can be swapped out with other neutral pods probably. And Grim is a little unfortunate, but I think they'll still be able to swap other things out and still play pretty set. And with Blood being hit so hard, it really is going to push Dragon probably into that tier 1. I know I'd been talking about maybe Dragon would sit a little lower still, but with the changes that are being made, unfortunately I could see a Dragon Shadow meta being quite plausible, especially in the tournament scene. Ladder, I reckon we'll see probably more Shadow dominate than Dragon, but we'll just have to wait and see, just because the Shadow matchup against Dragon is usually pretty good overall, whereas most other matchups aren't that great. And then the oddball of the changes, Princess Snow White, something that was expected but unexpected. So I personally thought Snow White was an amazing card, and it still kind of is. But this change now is kind of odd, because with that Grimnir change, decks probably won't be teching Grim as much. So the trade isn't going to be as valuable, and with a usage rate of 7.6, it's the second highest. It's sad that Haven had to be hit at all with this sort of card. I could have seen maybe Tea Time change in some way, maybe if it was just the stat gain on the evolve for Tin Soldier being changed, but instead they decided to go with the Snow White change, which is to drop its evolve defense down to 2, meaning you're not going to want to spend an evolve on it in the initial play. You're only going to want to use it to trade, and unfortunately you're not going to be able to trade up, so the 2 cost isn't really going to be able to trade up into a 3 or 4 cost as effectively as it would in the past. But against other 2-drops you should still do okay. I mean, you're not going to 2-for-1 at all. You're certainly not going to be doing that at all, yeah. So Snow White, an iffy card. I don't know how it will perform overall. Maybe you'll still want it for a little more aggression in your Haven, which is something Haven kind of lacked, so Snow White fitted that pretty well. You don't tend to run this in Seraph, you run it in pretty much every other deck though, so maybe this will stay. Can't speak for myself. I could definitely see Blood dropping off with Abyss. Abyss will probably be viled by most players. Oroboros, I'm not sure. That may be viled by most players as well, just for that extra gain, because all the vials will be pretty large. So look forward to that. Snow White, on the other hand, I think is probably a safe keep if you want to. Wait until probably halfway through this month and just see where things are at. Because with Shadow becoming probably more dominant, Haven isn't a bad counter. Against Dragon, Haven does lose pretty well, but I think that might create a rock, paper, scissors kind of environment. This is all personal opinion, so it's just from what I see on ladder. I'm not a huge tournament player, so I can't speak too much for how this will overall affect tournament meta, but from what I've seen from other players, it looks like Dragon and Shadow will probably be dominant there too. So the future card changes, so after these, and Phoenix Roost will come out on Maintenance as well to go with Dragon. That will be interesting. But we've got the August 28th announcement with the August 29th change, and then the September 26th announcement with the September 27th change. September should also be when we get the next lot of expansion news. That should be coming up all through September, no doubt, if they keep on their normal pacing. They are subject to change, they do note that, which is pretty normal. And of course they mentioned the temporary vial gain from then will be until the next major update, being August. So Tove will be 50, Goblin Leader will be 50, Baphomet will be 200, Grim 800, Spawn, Oroboros, and Princess all 3.5k. So if you want to get in some different legendaries or restructure decks, probably wait for the first half a week to get a good grip on which are probably the best to vial. I recommend Spawn and Oroboros myself. I don't know whether I will get rid of them just because I want to keep as much as I can, but I may, so we'll wait and see depending on how the meta kind of shifts. And that pretty much rounds out the nerf news. There isn't too much more to say there. We finally got the news. It's going to be rolled out very, very soon. I will be streaming tonight, so make sure to catch that in a few hours. And that will be the last stream before nerfs, and tomorrow's video and stuff will all be after nerfs. So tomorrow's video may be a little late, just because the nerf maintenance will be on my schedule a little bit. But look forward to more decks and more content coming out in the next month with these changes. So thanks for watching. Make sure to hit the like button if you like it, and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.